Welcome to the Balanced Ambition podcast. I'm your host, Matt Southam. Here, we delve into candid conversations with entrepreneurs, exploring both their business journey and their secrets to maintaining mental well-being. As we navigate the balance of ambition and inner peace, I hope you find insights, inspiration, and invaluable takeaways in every episode. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Alec. Welcome to the show. Before we dive into what it is you do, I know you've got a software development background. Where did that come from? Was that something from school, or when did you first start?
Yeah, started playing with computers when I was maybe 5, 6. We used to rent a room out to a lodger. My parents did, and in exchange for rent, which he couldn't pay, he gave us our first computer. He had one and he gave it to us, and it was a Commodore VIC 20. It seems, if you look at one now, if I show my kids it feels archaic. You know, it feels like something from a different age. But I sort of played with programming on it. It was slow. It was sluggish. The games were, when I show my kids now, they're like, "That's not a game, Dad." It's in no way like a computer, but for me, it was a thing, and I always got on with them. You know, I was that sort of techie geek kid. You know, I always liked that stuff, and it always my brain worked in whatever the right way is. It worked in that way.
Yeah. It understood computer languaging and understood how providing some instruction produced some sort of outcome, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of went on from there at school. When I was back when I was at school, there was like one computer in the school, and whenever I could get on it, I got on it. And then it's like a progress through schooling. They became more popular, and I got if I got to play, I played. I was always more interested in how they worked than the software on them. So I was always like trying to make it work. So I think it was always in my blood to do this. It's like a natural program. I like playing chess and stuff like that. It's kind of like a logic thing, and
slightly methodical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and actually, you're saying, if we consider how much has changed in our lifetime with regard to computer and technology, I remember being at school. We had this old BBC computer, and then I remember, as you go right back to playing games as a kid, I remember having to load it on a tape. People just couldn't understand how long it took to load a game that you could play, and actually, the game was pretty basic.
Yeah, and that movement's huge, isn't it? And it increases every year. Every year you think, well, can we get further? Can we do more? And you're always surprised by what the next thing is, no matter who you are, I think. Yeah.
So how did you then go from that into running a business? What was the journey there? What did you do after school?
Well, I left school at 16. I always wanted to work. I was always more driven by my work. I had paper rounds and did gardening jobs and things like that when I was a kid. And I wasn't sure what to do, so I ended up selling double glazing for a period, knocking on doors saying, "Do you want to buy some double glazing?" And then driving around with a window at the back of my car saying, "Here's a window. Do you want to buy some double glazing?" And then I thought, I'm not sure I see this as the rest of my life. So I enrolled at college in night school and did a computer programming course. And I thought, this was something I liked, but this is something I didn't go to university. I didn't do A-levels. I thought, I'll go do this. And I gave it a try, and I was like, this works. And I found a local company that would take me on as like a trainee, it was a governmental scheme to, get people into work. And it worked. And I had my childhood passion turned into a professional passion. And I enjoyed it. I ended up I consulted. I worked in Africa. I worked all around the country and around the world doing computer stuff. But I always had this kind of like businessy head as well, which I think was where the sort of selling double glazing came from. And I always wanted to build stuff. And with a partner, we built a couple of earlier businesses that didn't work. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. That everything isn't successful. We have the Mark Zuckerberg view of the world where we talk about Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and the like as the only people that have done this. We don't talk about the tens of thousands of people who've tried and that we can try and fail and it's fine. You know, not everyone's first go is going to be successful. And eventually, whilst working for people, I got married. We had kids. The kids are now, one's a teenager, one's nearly a teenager. They're both as tall as me. But and when our first was a baby, I noticed how our marketing to parents worked, and it was because that's the space we've ended up in. And I thought, this doesn't feel very. It felt very 19. The businesses that we competed with early on were started in the 1950s, and it didn't feel like they'd kind of caught up with the internet. And I thought, can I, with a friend who was a more creative type, we built a site and thought, can we get parents to look at this site? And if we can get parents to look, can we then get brands interested? And I assumed one would lead to the other. And we tried, and it worked. I mean, it worked in a rough sort of rudimentary. Would you call it an MVP now? But we don't think anyone invented that term. And it worked. It worked quite well, but really quickly. We built Your Baby Club, which is our consumer brand, and Fan Finders, our B2B brand. But I realised really quickly into this that talking to brands wasn't my forte. Work marketing wasn't my forte. I was good at the tech stuff. So we found some business partners, found other founders of the business to start from this very small egg to grow. And that's been one of the key things that's allowed our success, is that we've got a good team. And that carries on as you're growing. It's all about the people. It's about the culture. It's about you're nothing without those people around you. And as you grow, that just becomes much more the case, that you need good people, and you need to be able to find good people, and you need to be able to treat people like people, and all those things. I think everyone's had a terrible boss at some point, and I had a few. The ones where you're like a number, not a name, and they don't treat you. And we've tried. We start from day one. We wanted to be different from that. We wanted to be, people are people. People have got things they need to do that aren't. Work's not always your number one priority. I know it's not a very Silicon Valley Elon Musk view of the world, but people have kids, pets, elderly relatives, things they need to go do. You don't want to be the person who stopped the kid going to stop them going to their kids' choir, their kids' rehearsal there, because you've made them work. Work can exist around these things, not instead of these things.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that as well. So there's quite a lot going on there that I want to sort of dive into. I mean, the first one, you were talking about how some of the first few projects didn't work, and you sometimes see failure or mistakes. That's just sort of the tax we pay on success. You've got to go through that quite often. But you're right, it's not very often spoken about, because we all put out I suppose it's a vicious circle of what we see on social media, and the reason we get interviews, the reason we get press is when something's going really well. So we feel like we have to just keep talking that talk. But actually, there's been loads of reiterations of businesses that didn't work first time, and actually you're just working out ways that it doesn't work. So what did you learn from those early failures?
Not that you've got to realize when something's not working, that just hammering your head against a wall hoping that it works is not the way forward. If it's a hard line to work out, but where do you draw that line? Where do you say that this thing, I don't think this thing is going to work, and it doesn't matter what else I do in the world, this isn't going to work. And that doesn't mean it's a rubbish idea. You can be too early for an idea. You can be doing. There's the internet, or the sort of the .com era is littered with these things that now are fantastic ideas and work, but first time round, local delivery was an abject failure. But now it's in everyone's lives all over the place. Sometimes it's a timing thing. But to work out where the failure is, you need metrics. You need to be able to say, this isn't working. What I'm doing here isn't, whatever your metric is, be it financial or some other sort of KPI, having some sort of sensible number would help. And I think if I was to do it again, that's what I'd be aiming for. if I can't hit these numbers within a reasonable time frame, then this thing isn't working. I can draw a line under it. I can say I tried. I can be very happy with trying, and I can move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think trying and enjoying the journey and going on that journey, but knowing when to actually go, you know what, this isn't going anywhere, is quite a brave move. And actually, I think we don't maybe give ourselves or other business owners enough credit for actually saying this idea isn't working. I'm now going to try something else. Actually, that's brave and should be commended, rather than going, oh, their business failed. No, they've been brave and actually diversified and moved into something else.
We do it now with our staff. We say, we can try things. There's nothing wrong with something going on. There's nothing wrong with trying something and it failing. There's something wrong with repeatedly doing that. But, on the same thing. But just because some, either a mistake or a failure, we tried something, does this thing work? Well, no, not everything works. And you can't hope that everything you do is going to be successful. It's very unlikely that any business, if we actually analysed it, made every successful decision every time. It's just like you say, we don't talk about it, Matt. We hide it under a cushion and pretend, and we only talk about success. And success is great, but it's not a straight line. It's ziggy zaggy. It's up and it's down. It's up and it's down. Nothing's up and to the right like a sort of a hockey stick. That's just not the case.
No. And I think actually, even just talking about success, actually there's different measures of success. There is the financial ones and things like that we often see within business. But actually, as a business owner, you might say, well, actually, I've reduced my hours.
Absolutely.
That can be a success. Your turnover
absolutely.
might be the same.
Yeah, I walk my kids to school. My other half works in construction, so she's not always here, because you can't build houses at home. And so I tried to walk my kids as much as I could to and from school, because they fired me at some point. They're like, we can do this ourselves, Dad. We don't need you. Yeah. But it was fantastic, because for me, when you pick them up from school, they remember stuff, because they seem to forget really quickly what they did that day. They remember the food and who they played with, but the rest of it just disappears. And if you pick them up, you can have this real conversation with them straight away. And for me, that was a tick in a box. That was, that was a life affirming moment. That was success that my business allowed me to do. That maybe I couldn't have had if I was working for another organisation.
Yeah, and you said about, helping people understand that actually life is often bigger and more complex than just work. Work's a key part, and, we all need to eat. And actually, it's good to have, even as a business owner, passion for your business and things like that. But equally, like you say, there is school activities, there's sports days, there's an elderly relative who, none of us are going to be around forever. You might want to visit. So how have you implemented that, not just for yourself, but for your team?
We have an approach of employing adults and letting them be adults. It's pretty straightforward. You say to people, we can be flexible, and you be flexible, and you get it back in droves. You instead of it being a hindrance to your business, it allows more growth. People are more flexible in return because you're flexible with them. And you make it that you don't need to tell me that you're taking your dog to the vet. Just take your dog to the vets. That's fine. We don't need a conversation about that. As long as you're there for meetings you've arranged, you're there for the things you're going to. We've taken stuff from technology. In software teams, you do a thing called Scrum, where you talk in the morning effectively, and you say, this is what I did yesterday, this is what I did today, and these are the things that got in the way, these are my impediments. We've implemented that in our various departments of our business. So like our finance team, our marketing teams, our AI teams, they all do these things so that they're sharing. And because it's all on Slack, it's all non-synchronous. So we can all see what everyone's doing. We know what we're doing. We can see any issues. It's all open, and it allows that sort of that flexibility to be there, because works generally about outputs, not inputs. We care about the result, not the not how we got to the result, within reason.
Yeah. I mean, quite often there has to be some parameters within there, but you're
Absolutely.
right. If there is, this is the outcome we're trying to achieve, and it's within this time scale to this standard, then how you get there, actually, you can provide some flexibility. And I know, but we're talking about sort of COVID and pre-COVID, because I'm aware you went fully remote pre-COVID, but COVID sort of produced that things can be done from home.
We were 50-50 actually before COVID. We had an office that some people, it was in London, so if you were in there, that you used, not all the time for everyone, but sometimes. We went fully remote over COVID, but we've never looked back. It allows you to, if you look at where most of the employees are in the UK, my colleagues, we operate in the States, so we've got people over there, but we've got people a bit further away as well, and it allows you to you can hire the best people, because the best people aren't always in your locale. I'm in Yorkshire, and if I want to hire a great developer, it doesn't necessarily mean there's a great developer down the road. They could be in Inverness, and it doesn't really matter to me that they're in Inverness. They don't have to be sat next to me for me to know they're working. We know they're working by other mechanisms. And we have a very non-micromanaging approach. I mean, we all have to know. We have to have project plans. We have to have those things, but we want to hire people that don't need telling what to do on a daily basis and don't need somebody looking over their shoulder. And that isn't everyone. Some people work well in large corporate environments where they've got support in every way, because we're not all the same. And some people work well. Some people work well in an organisation like ours, and that. We're after those people, those people that can run themselves, that want that freedom. But it also means they have to be a little bit more self-reliant. If you're remote and all your computers stop working, you sometimes have to fix it yourself. You have to work out how to uninstall Word and reinstall it. It sounds normal, but that's not everyone. And that's fine. We're not all supposed to be the same.
No, actually, I think that's one of the beauties, and it's one of the things I love actually about this podcast. I speak to lots of different people, and we're not all the same, we generally have more alike than we do, not, but just the micro sort of interactions, the way we deal with things, the way we like to communicate, the way, we want support and feedback from other people is different. And actually growing a team can be tough to get everyone to fit within your way. What do you do about culture? I mean, culture's, it's been around for years, but now I think, people speak about company culture much more.
Yeah. I think setting out to create a culture is often fails. If you've got like a blueprint for what you want, it's about the founders. It's about the management team and how they run and operate and what they do and living what they say. It's very easy to come up with a load of objectives on a piece of paper and say, this is our culture, and then not allow it. It's easy to say we don't micromanage, but then you've got to not micromanage. It's easy to say we've got to be flexible, but then not be flexible. And so it's kind of just driven. It's driven from the top down in how you do it, and everyone has to buy in. And it just becomes part of how you work. If you look at our Glassdoor ratings, they're great, which is a wonderful thing. But I sometimes look at other people's and think, how have you got here? How have you actually created something successful without being great to your people? We do like unlimited holiday, which sounds like some hilarious joke on the outside, but it works really well. It just means that you're not looking at a number. Does it matter if somebody had 21 days, not 20? It doesn't. No. And if it goes around with treating adults like adults, then nobody takes the Michael. Everyone, we've never had an issue with it. It works. It works for us, and it's that flexibility thing again.
Yeah. I mean, company culture and that unlimited holiday. I did see one where I can't remember the company. They offered unlimited holiday. They then brought it back that actually you had to book. So you got X amount of days because they found people weren't taking enough holiday.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's a really strange thing, that when you said to people you can have unlimited time off, actually people weren't taking the time off that they should have been. They just carried on working.
our people do tend to take the time off, I think,
Good.
but
Yeah.
it's because it's important. I think holidays and time off is
Yeah,
necessary.
completely.
I enjoy work. I've always enjoyed work. Like talking about the software stuff, I found it like artisan. I was creating something. I was always like terrible at art, but I could with software I could create something or something visual. Something I could see that I'd made. But I like my work. But I take holidays. I think again, it's demonstrable. The people at the top have to take holidays. It can't be that. I think this sort of hustle till you die culture is really poisonous. You have to be successful. We've got, like you say, both personally and as a business, you have bills to pay. So you've got to. Finances are important, but it's not necessarily the most important thing.
No, and that's a conversation I think is starting to happen much more. I mean, that's part of the idea of the podcast, to have that balanced ambition. I'm not against someone being ambitious and wanting to grow their business and grow a team and increase turnover. That great, but equally there's got to be some balance in there, and taking holidays is a key one. How did you find in your early days taking time off but actually switching off? Have you always been good at that, or did you struggle?
I'm not solid on work-life balance. I don't mind when I'm on holiday, I can go and take an hour's phone call. My holiday isn't disrupted by me jumping on a call with somebody for an hour. It's if I'm doing that 6 times a day, that's an issue. But if I'm doing it occasionally, I see no issue with that at all. As a business owner, you can't put yourself in the seat of founding a business and then go, I'm completely cut off from this. I think it's very hard to do that, but you just have to manage it within reason. I'll often say to my wife when we go on holiday that, look, I've got a call. I'm going to go away for an hour, and I'm going to find somewhere quiet from 10 to 11 tomorrow, and it doesn't disrupt anything. No one notices really. It's fine. So you've got to. Your work-life balance is your work-life balance.
Yeah, I've found when I've been away, actually being slightly connected to the office a couple of times a day, maybe in the morning, then actually allows me to switch off during other times. Because if I was like, I'm completely disconnected for a whole week, I probably wouldn't relax at all.
Exactly.
But actually just dropping a couple of Slack messages in the morning, hey, what's up? Just checking, is there anything? And it's sort of reassuring. You hear back, no, all good. We're working on this customer submitted a support ticket or contacted us about this, and we dealt with that. You can then just relax and actually enjoy your holiday. I find if I'm completely disconnected, I don't relax.
Yeah, no, completely. It's the same as I wasn't that great at exercising in my early 20s, or making myself do stuff. But as I've got older, I've realised our own mortality maybe slightly, and so I make sure I take time to. I've got dogs. So I make sure I walk them, and I go to the gym occasionally, and I do these things because it's again the same thing. It's that kind of balance of work and play.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big believer in balance across everything. So even down to my diet, I have what I'd call a fairly decent diet, but I don't restrict anything. If it's the kid's birthday, I'm having cake. I'm having cake.
Yeah.
But it's all about a balance, and I do the same with exercise, with work, and just try and live that balanced lifestyle rather than. I tend to find if I try and restrict anything completely, the urge for it is there even more. So don't work for 3 days. Actually, then I'm really pent up. I want to work. And the same if it was like, don't have any chocolate for a week. It's like then I suddenly want chocolate. If it's down to me to choose, I feel empowered. And then therefore, actually, I'm much more disciplined on trying to reach the goals because I feel in control.
I think it's human nature, isn't it? We want to do different things, and we want to do things that release dopamine. You want that piece of chocolate. You want, that's normal. It's just making sure it's moderation.
Yeah. So what is some of your sort of big aims with the business? So do you want to, because we haven't really covered, do you want to explain what it is that you do in a little bit more depth?
Yeah, absolutely. Fan Finders is a platform business. We created a platform first as a technology business that we utilize on our Your Baby Club sites. It's called verticalized.ai, and it allows us to put consumers and brands together. So our first launch was in baby, and we're doing other verticals that I'll tell you about in a while. But we launched in baby for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, and we have huge numbers. We have in the UK we have about 35,000 new members every month.
Okay, wow.
In the US about 125,000, 7 million on our database, and these consumers join to find offers, discount samples, information, content, everything about having a baby. And the brands want to know about that parent as soon as they can that they're going to have a baby, so they can convince them to buy their wares. We work in the US and the UK, so I end up flipping between UK speech and US about diapers and nappies and strollers and prams and consumer packaged goods and FMCG, and we tend to work with larger brands or those with an ability to deal with scale, because we have lots of consumers, and we started in the UK. We kind of ramped up over a period to the point we are. We started in the US 2017, 2018, 2019, kind of scaling up over that period.
Yeah.
And we've been building out our sort of technology behind it. We've got an AI and automation team. We've got a dev team. We're a very techie business. We try and make it look simple on the outside, the sort of complexity underneath. And we've been building this thing so we can build into other markets. So our next launch, which should be hopefully launched by the time this podcast's out, is a beauty site called the Lookbook, which we're launching in the States to start with. Our site uses a mixture of AI and data to personalize the information for the consumer. So in the parenting space, that's all around baby's age. So this week your baby's going to be as big as a banana. It always seems to be a food-based comparison. And then in the beauty space, it's around skin tone or hair color, or the factors that are relevant in that, and showing things that are both consumer offers and content and videos and to the right person, because standard publishers they don't know very much about somebody. They know somebody's come from some SEO link on a website somewhere, but they've never really found out. They can do some sort of background things to vaguely find out about them, but we ask them questions. They join our clubs, they become members. So we know things about our members, which allows us to offer a better service to our members because they're our members. They're not just a random person from the internet, and that allows us to offer a better service to brands as well.
Yeah, I can see that. There's been a lot in recent years, around cookies and data and personal preferences and, iOS changes and things like that. But actually, I don't want to see more adverts. I do just want to see ones that are relevant to me. So understanding more about me is actually to my benefit, not just an advertiser. Yeah,
indeed. And there's and sort of the death of third-party cookies makes that harder to do. So you can't show and conceptual advertising around the topic. So you've got, say, a page on holidays having adverts about that holiday is great, but that's not. We're one stage further than that. We know you, especially like a geography like the US, because it's so physically large. There's lots of businesses that just work in one state or one county in one state, and if we can help to advertise those businesses around the person who lives there, who's got the right services for that person, it's better for the consumer, it's better for the brand. Everyone wins. And it's entirely opt-in. Somebody's decided to do this. This isn't like hidden under the skin. This is they've said my baby's due here, or I've got red hair, or so it's zero party data opted in with some AI cleverness over the top, that kind of makes this thing. And we're not stopping at beauty. We're going into gardening and food and drink and crafting and personal finance, and all sorts of other things. Because where there's like a niche, the internet exposes it in such a great way that you can offer services for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the internet's been brilliant for what I call niches, whether that's, there's YouTubers who aren't necessarily big in the world of, your Mr. Beasts and things like, but actually they are really big in a certain niche. And it's the same almost, I think, micro influencers on social media have much more power than some of these massive celebrities who might have loads of followers, but most of them are irrelevant to the sort of story that they're putting out. And, to be able to connect the right people or the right brand with the right audience is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we built is the power of platform, because we built this intelligent platform. We spent 10 years doing it, which means actually we've got like a pretty decent head start, because we've been at this ages. So we've got it right and we've got it wrong, and we've got it right now. And we're going to try and offer services to what we'd call thematic membership clubs. So say like an NFL team or a Premiership football team. So we could offer services to an organisation like that, where they can have a club membership site, and they can work with brands who want to be specifically targeted at that. Or say a membership organisation like the Scouts or a trade union or doctors or nurses, or anything where you've got a grouping of people, and there's brands who want to see them, and there's content they want to see, and there's specific videos, and there's people, there's stuff they want to read, and you can start to, the sky is really the limit with this.
Yeah. To connect a brand with, I say, the right tribe, the right type of people. Yeah. And actually, there's an episode from a few weeks ago, Richard Busby talking about sponsorship, and one of the key things he says is making sure actually the brand does match the event or whatever it is that they're sponsoring. It's got to make sense, because we do all operate, quite a lot of us, I'd say, move between different tribes. We have our mates from sport here, and this interest there. That's fine, but within those interests there are some similarities, and certain brands match with those much better than just, like you say, a random advert.
Yeah, absolutely. And across our network, as we build it, there's going to be similarities. We're going to build health and fitness, but there'll be some stuff that fits in food and drink, and there'll be some stuff that fits in both of those. Some advertisers that want to be in both those tribes, and seeking fans in both things. So as we build our network, we can grow horizontally as well as vertically, because the brands want to be seen in various things.
Yeah, and I mean the fact, how you've embraced AI and been working with it for a while now to actually build this platform, it has given you that head start. And what's really interesting is the way actually the end service, what end users are seeing, is a very personal front end, very nice. But actually, there's a lot of technology and coding bit in the back end, and it's marrying them two in a way that actually works for both is incredibly clever.
And it's AI is like an enabler for us. It's not, we're not like looking to like reduce headcount or anything like that. So it's allowing great people to be greater. We can use it. It's a tool. We say, if there's something out there that we can use the tool, let's use it. Let's make ourselves a better organization. If you can find a way of automating yourself out of a job, then we find another job, we find something else, because that's fantastic. That's what we should be achieving. We should be going, there's a better way to do this. You want rid of the mundane. You want to hire those clever people and let them do clever things. And if they've got mundane stuff and you can automate and AI it out of the way, then we should be doing that. And I think over the next few years, we'll see that across more and more organizations. I think we're just a bit early at this.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in AI as a tool. That's all it is. There's been a lot of negative talk, and I know that there may well need to be some controls into what it can do. But actually, for general businesses, to me, it's another tool. It's like having a computer rather than a typewriter, or like having a car rather than having to jump on a horse. It's just a new bit of technology that we can use.
Yeah, and you can't fight it. It's coming. You or I have no control over this. If you choose not to use it, or I choose not to use it, that doesn't mean somebody down the road's not going to.
No.
It's here, and it's here to stay. I don't claim to be a particular expert about it. There's no PhDs in AI here, but it just seems straightforward. Exactly like you say. If there's a tool out there you can use that makes your job better and easier, and you're still delivering a quality product, then you should be. There's a couple of major organisations that I won't name that got AI generated content and threw it out to the web without putting it past people, and that sort of thing is just it's stupid. You're not delivering value to anyone at that point, and it's potentially dangerous. It can do it. You don't know what it's going to put. So we use anything we do that we generate with AI is always edited and managed by people. There's a personal touch to it. It's not just computer says this is the correct thing, because it doesn't always understand.
No, completely. I'm very much, I use AI to assist me in my content creation. So give an example. This morning I wrote a blog, and, I was coming up with a few ideas, and I sort of said, oh, can you give me some blog titles? It gave me one. I then wrote the blog myself. But I always say, my blogs are okay, but I'm not a copywriter. So I understand the messaging. So I chuck it back in. Can you check this for UK spelling and grammar? Any clarity improvements you can suggest, but keep it in my tone. It then brings that out. So I can then start to check it and use it. And okay, I've got a finished blog now. But then I wanted, okay, can you do a summary from this? Can you do an FAQ? Give me some ideas. And it just helps speed up that content creation process. But it was still me, and I'm proud that it was me that wrote the blog. It's my idea. It was my voice. It was, my take on something. AI is just a simple tool, just an advanced version of the spell checker.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's going to do more, and some of the stuff, like some of the video things, look amazing, but they're not. Yeah. But they're not the same as people doing it yet. It doesn't understand physics and things, and it's not. And it's not. I think it's going to be a while before it's doing that stuff.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong here.
But it's an exciting time. But yeah, I think if you can embrace AI to assist you as an additional tool, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely, and we will be as a tool. We use it across every department now, I think, in some way or another. We have regular meetings about it where people can show and tell what they've done with it, and because it should be something that's embraced organisation wide. We found this thing that can help in the finance function, or we've got this thing for marketing, or there's some super clever bits that do like automation of like sales. Like after a call, like a podcast, it'll transcribe and it'll come up with sentiment, and it'll come up with to-do lists from it. And it's that stuff you often don't have in smaller organizations, where you don't have, it's helping, no one's having to take notes. There's no manual process. There's no one doing, I can't imagine anyone's doing shorthand now. There's whole realms of things are going to change, but and we're ahead of it in a sort of a cutting, not bleeding edge way, I would say. At the front, but with some control.
That makes sense. So to finish off today, because it's been a really good conversation covering sort of early days and, how you've grown the business and the culture, what advice would you give to someone? Maybe they're out doing their door-to-door sales at the moment. They're thinking of maybe this isn't right for me, or they've got a boss who, they maybe enjoy their industry, but the boss isn't right. What advice would you give to someone wanting to start a business?
Yeah, absolutely do it. Try it, work out, like I was saying earlier, the metrics for success, what this looks like, and the metrics for not success, for failure. If I don't achieve X sales, if I don't get this many consumers to look at it, if I don't achieve this many downloads, it doesn't matter what the metric is, but you've got to keep yourself honest, because otherwise you go on for too long. And don't be worried about stopping something and then starting something else. But just because one thing doesn't work doesn't mean the next thing doesn't work. Nobody's good at every subject, so nobody's going to be good at every business. And I think anyone can set up a business and do it. And you don't have to be aiming for the stars. You don't have to. Success isn't the Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg version. Success is much more personal, and aiming for something that gives you that sort of, I think, like you said, that balanced life is really important. when you look at the known super successful people, they've often lost lots. They don't have stable family lives often. They've gone through multiple divorces. They've got stuff that doesn't say I want to be in their shoes, and don't chase things. Things don't make you happy. A new car's only a new car for a month. The same with every other product and thing. Those things don't make you happy. It's spending time with people that are driven in the same way as you. So finding a good team, creating good culture if you do that. But working by yourself is equally valuable, and it allows you more flexibility some ways.
Yeah, some really, really good points in there. Look, Alec, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the business expands and jumps into other niches. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the time today. It's been magic.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.